Well, today I've got to get back into my E90. I've got a few repairs to make to it. I got to replace the thermostat. Just check out the front end. I think there may be a bad axle, so just got to investigate that. Just kind of do shakedowns on both front wheels. And also, I think the washer fluid bottle is cracked. So pull the inner fender out, pull that out, and see if I can epoxy it or just replace it. Well, now that I've got the car jacked up, the front wheel off, the passenger side front wheel, I'm going to pull the inner fender because the washer fluid reservoir is located behind it. It looks like it's a mixture of like 10s and 8s, but there are two like factory rivets here that I'll have to drill out. With the inner fender off, now I can see the fluid tank kind of wraps up and around the fender well. So I'm gonna clean some of this up, pop the hose off, and then pull the reservoir out. Well, the tank is out now, and because this has the headlight washer system, you've got two pumps. You've got the headlight washer pump, then you've got the windshield pump, and the level sensor. So you've got all three of those connectors. You've got the line to the windshield wipers, you got the line up to the headlights, and then you've also got the connector for the marker light and the fender on this harness too, plus the hose to the actual fill, like this is the fill port basically. So there's a lot to it compared to like an E36 that literally has the tank with like a flathead fastener to the fender that pops off and you're done. There's one, I guess there's two connectors on that too, but it just seems way simpler. So from what my brother-in-law who had this car before me told me was that he would fill the fluid and within a couple of days it would leak out. So I'm thinking the fill tube itself is okay, but since I'm at this point, I'll probably pop it out all the way and just inspect that. But then what I'm gonna do is I'll just kind of visually go over the tank, but then I'll fill it up with water and see where it leaks out from. So I didn't realize that the pumps don't really have a check valve in them. I thought maybe when they powered on, like you said, it was a check valve and it was one way, but I put some vacuum like nickel plugs on the ends to prevent the fluid from coming out, and then I also pulled the overflow tube out of the car so that, or the fill tube, so that I can fill it up and kind of bring that elevated above the reservoir so it can act as though it's in the car. If this doesn't have any leaks present, then the one other thing it could be is because those pumps don't have a valve, it could be leaking out of one of the hoses. Probably not, but it's possible. Now I fill it and wait. So everything's set up now. I thought maybe when it filled it would backtrack into the hose, but this here seems to be like an overflow relief. That could be this, it can't be the source of the entire leak because obviously it's at the very top. So I'm gonna let it sit and see if a leak arises. The tank itself doesn't look like it has any cracks or anything, so nothing jumping out at me, but time will tell. The fill tube is cracked at the top, but again, that wouldn't make the entire thing leak down. I think I might be able to just trim it instead of replacing it and go in that route. Well, after letting the reservoir sit overnight, or about 24 hours, the reservoir itself doesn't seem to be leaking. as far as like the plastic itself goes. The fill tube is definitely, well, either need, I'm almost gonna have to replace it. But what I think the problem is, actually the headlight washer on the passenger side. So this is the hose that leads to it, and then this is the headlight washer. It's not connected anymore to the actual like piece in the bumper, and what I think is happening is when fluid is in and filled to this line, it's just leaking right out of this. So I'm going to try and get fluid in the line and then see if that is the issue. If that is, I can get the reservoir back in, and this line just should tee off to that nozzle, so I can actually just remove that and either cap the tee or just put a straight connector in there so that it doesn't supply washer fluid to that line anymore. And then I can get the tank in, and I'll just leave the inner fender out for now, and that'll kind of help me see a little better to do the thermostat later. Then once I source a replacement, I can get that in, button everything back up. Can't really confirm if the leak is on that side, so I have a new plan. So I'm going to, you got two pumps here. This is for the headlights, this is for the windshield wipers. So I'm gonna leave the pump installed for the headlights, but I have this vacuum cap on still. I'm just gonna put a zip tie around that so it doesn't fall off. And then what I'm gonna do is reinstall everything, not plug this back in, so not give it power. And then I'll fill the system and just verify that the leak isn't on the wiper side. Because it could be, but I doubt it. So I'll give that a shot. So I do have a tape wrapped around the fill hose now, a piece of tape. It's cracked still, but I think that's good enough to get me by for now. Obviously this isn't washer fluid, but I'm just using this for now, which isn't orange juice either, just water in case I have to pull everything apart again and drain it down. So the fill hose is actually leaking, so I think that's going to have to get replaced. Well, that's still dripping, but I'll just have to monitor it for a day and see if the reservoir drains down. My only one concern is it's kind of leaking on everything over here, but I think it'll be alright. I did reach out about a part out locally, so I'll see if that's available and possibly grab it tomorrow. Otherwise, I will probably just order one. Like I said, they're like 40 bucks. Hopefully the guy doesn't want more than 20 bucks for the used one if it's available. Hopefully the used one's in good shape. At this point, I'm just gonna, like I said, leave the inner fender off, but move on to replacing the thermostat. So this has been sitting for a couple days now, and the reservoir is still full. So I have the headlight washer system bypassed. At this point, I'm not going to do anything more with that. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. I'm going to replace the fill tube, and I think that should take care of it.